Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Hello, you're welcome to today's edition of Money Radio on Leadership Podcast. Money Radio is a program that brings to you the latest developments and Nigeria's business and economy cycles and issues of businesses around the world. My name is Innocent Odo, and today we are at the ICT segment of the Money Radio, the one you popularly call as the technology segment of Money Radio. And today we are looking at strategizing Nigeria's ICT industry for local and global patronage. And of course, it will interest you to know that this very important topic is something that is very valuable to us because of the nature and character of the ICT sector to the Nigerian economy. And of course, the drive to ensure that this particular sector adds more value to the Nigerian economy. Following the successes of recent years, especially in 2021, when the Nigerian Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Ali Pantami, told the nation that the ICT sector had contributed 17.92% to the GDP in the second quarter of 2021, with a promise that with more investment and effective utilization of the potentials in the sector, the ICT industry will do even more in 2020. And so we're looking at how to re-strategize this particular industry for local and global patronage. We know that we have made some successes, but then there are still some challenges that we need to address before we can make the Nigerian ICT sector globally competitive in order to add more productivity to the nation's economy. I am not alone in the studio. I'm here with an ICT expert, and today we're going to do justice to this very important topic. I'm talking about Hanel Jafari. Hanel, welcome to the program.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Now, today we're talking about re-strategizing the sector, the ICT sector for local and global patronage. So, if I may ask, how do we take it from? How do we re-strategize this industry?
Well, I always start with asking the question, why has it taken this long for us to go look at the possibility of re-strategizing the ICT sector? Because the sector as it stands is running, it's more of like flying on its own. The 17.92% that you mentioned earlier that contribute to the GDP, I see little or no the effort that the government put in place to ensure that is actualized cannot be compared to the amount the GDP will get when the government decides to, okay, let's make this thing an industry on its own. Yeah. Now let's look at I saw a status recently where someone was putting up agriculture because the government is encouraging us to go back to
go back to the land.
Go back to the land. Yes. And I saw a status where someone was putting up the GDP of different countries that have been in the land and GDP of different countries that have been in the ICT sector, comparing both the ICT sector and the land sector or the agricultural sector. And from that, from my analysis from that status, I came to realize that you going to the land where we actually employ more persons, but it will generate less GDP compared to the number of persons when you compare it with the ICT sector. Nigeria agricultural sector tends to generate about 30% GDP, and over 150 million people in that sector. Now the ICT sector is generating almost 18 million with less than 2 million people in that sector. Okay. So if we are to double or triple the numbers of persons in that sector, it only means that our GDP would there is a tendency for our GDP to also triple. It comes from the ICT sector. So if we say, okay, now we have less than 2 million people generating 18 million GDP, and we decide to say, okay, now let's make it 6 million persons that are engaged in this ICT or bringing ICT solutions. And by making it 6 million persons, it only means that we'll have around 56% of GDP coming from the ICT sector. Comparing it to agriculture, where we have over 150 million persons in it and generate 30% of the GDP. So Now one of the strategies we need to implement is ensuring that we increase the numbers of persons in the ICT sector. As I told us earlier, the ICT sector is growing on its own. It's getting all the necessary things it's getting on its own. All the patronage it's getting, the government has nothing. There is no much policy that the government is putting in place to ensure that it grows. So it is just like it really does not. The good thing about the ICT sector is really that it does not depend on the government to grow. But notwithstanding, the government has a role to play. The role of government cannot be overlooked. The government has a major role to play in ensuring that it achieves its maximum potential. We have so many industries. If you want to start looking at it from the fintech, the fintech is the last now in this part of the world. Everybody's going into fintech. Everybody's going into fintech, and we have so many companies that are doing fintech. It surprises me when the government wanted to implement the the in-era, it went ahead to get a fintech company outside the country. So how do you now encourage if for a major project like that, and you're taking a fintech company out, a fintech company outside the country, because the fintech company has implemented it in one or two countries. It started from one country actually. That the fintech company started from one country. So if Nigerian government can say, okay, yeah, all ICT solutions, let's look at the way of implementing it local. Let it be local. Because I was even in a summit recently where the software developer, the Association of Software Developers, they were complaining that it's not as though that their softwares are not good. It's not as though Nigerian softwares are bad, but it's just that probably I would call it inferiority complex, where they think anything that's coming from outside the country tends to be better than what is developed in the country. But what Nigerians fail to understand is that there is uh, you can't localize the industry. It is not like other industries that you get raw materials and you can now sell subsidized raw materials, or raw materials that are out of shape, or completely raw materials that are not good, or counterfeit raw materials. No, software development has to do with code. You can't sell counterfeit code, because code is code. The way they are developing it in the housing in the Western world is the same way we are in Nigerians who are developing this code. So what is not making them patronize them in the Western world? Leaving we that were now the good thing is that most of our own the Western world are now more patronizing ours, or probably let me use the word, most countries in Africa are patronizing Nigerian products or Nigerian software products. But we as a country, we as Nigerians, we are not patronizing our products.
So, but that kind of attitude is hard to explain. Uh, Even when we say we need a diversification of our economy, the government has often said that ICT is the way to go in terms of diversification of the economy. And they have also saying that the policies of the government in promoting the ICT sector has also been laid bare. And but then we're saying that there are some challenges yet that are, a lot of things that have not been met by the government to ensure that this sector is also harmonized. We understand also that Nigeria is the largest market of ICT in Africa.
It's not just both in the area of uh, usage, but it's also in the area of provision of services.
Okay.
There is no country in Africa that can compete with Nigeria in the area of software development, ICT solution, ICT services, and the only area that I think that we are lagging behind is in the area of data center. Yeah. But looking at every other sector, subsector in ICT, Nigeria is dominating both in the area of within the services and the usage of the services. Yes. And it's just bad. I was thinking COVID-19 is going to probably in a way help us out to realize the importance of being local, or patronizing local products. But sadly it did not, because most of our solutions, our ICT solutions, our software, the ones that banks makes use of, the ones that education make use of and all. Everybody in Nigeria is still patronizing Zoom. Meanwhile, we have a local product. There is Connect that is similar to Zoom, consume less bandwidth compared to Zoom. Has what's it called? High connectivity rate, just like Zoom. Has an high encryption rate, just like Zoom. So why would we now patronize Zoom and forget our local products?
Okay, some of these things that you have just shown up here may just necessary, may not, it doesn't have to do with the issue of lack of orientation on what we already have. And because if you say that we are actually doing very well in this sector, and the local solutions actually providing the important solutions to our ICT demands. And so we have something like you mentioned, Connect, that is also competing with Zoom. But not many people have heard about this.
Because if the government had come out and said, okay, Unity schools,
Yes.
I want you to not use Zoom for your classes anymore. Let us use a local product. They will be forced to source for a local product. When they are forced to source for a local product, they will see a local product. In fact, it can be a competition.
Okay, yes, but the thing is that before we allow we allow our own local products to have some leverage, we probably even do it like the way the other countries are doing it, to shield our own local companies from that kind of competition from Zoom, for instance. If we say, okay, let's not apply the usage of Zoom in our own system, allow only our local solutions to be what we are going to use in people, wouldn't that go a long way in actually protecting our own from the competitiveness that will come from the outside?
Definitely, it will protect our own. It's as though your even though our own is not even good, as a result of the usage,
Yes.
they can improve on it and make it better. We can start by the government can start by saying, okay, let's test our own with one Unity school and see how the reaction, the feedback that we get. Let's probably run it for 2 years. After 2 years, we'll get feedback. If it's something that all the Unity schools can implement, good and fine. If it's something that they can't implement, then what is the area that is lagging? What is the area that needs improvement? Can you improve it? Yes, I can improve it. If you can improve it, and let's just run it again for another 6 months. That's the case where we want to say we want to use one company. But there are different and different companies or software providers that still give all these same products. That we can say, okay, this Unity school use this product, this zone use this product. Let's at the end of the day, let's compare to see what will come out of the service that this product is bringing forth. With the feedback, they can decide on how to make the local product even competitive in the global scale. Now, let's work with the assumption that we now have a good product that is viable for global sale, and we decide to launch it into other African. Let's go of Western world. Let's launch it into other African countries that also have this same particularity of not accepting and have this same challenges, the difficulties with education technology as a result of probably the COVID-19, the pandemic, and all that. Sell these products to them with the involvement in government, with the involvement of government, telling this to the African countries that we have tested this product. This is what our Unity schools are using. This is exactly what they are doing. This is how the feedback we are getting. I think it's something that you can use, and also it's cheaper compared to other parts of the world. What will stop them from even trying the product?
Yeah, if you're just joining us, we've been talking of restrategizing Nigeria's ICT industry for local and global patronage. And I've been in the studio with an ICT expert, Haniel Defaru. I will take a short break, and when we return, we'll continue with the rest of the program. Don't go.
sponsorship, and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're still on Money Radio on Leadership Podcast, and our focus is on restrategizing the ICT industry for local and global patronage. Daniel, before we went on that break, you were talking about a data center for Nigeria, and that's a very vital aspect of this industry that can also provide help us some, facilitate local solutions to some of these challenges that we are having. So, what is your take on the data center? Are we good enough, or we are still deficient in it?
Yeah, data center. I know the last time I was there, I told us that data center is practically controlled by power, and that is one area that we are not good with. Well, let me not use it. It's been an area that all administration have not. Probably, I don't know if they are putting blind eyes to that industry, but we know fully well that money is going into the industry, but we're not getting the result is not encouraging compared to the amount of money that goes into that industry. So now, when you to run a data center, you need systems, you need building. It is a standard infrastructure, but inside the building you need systems. Now, the systems are all part. I mean, we're not talking about one system, we're talking about thousands and thousands of, not just your ordinary laptop system, I'm talking about servers. Yeah. In fact, it is called server farm, just the way you understand the idea of a farm, where you say you have a rice farm all through rice. So we're talking about server farm, where you have different servers running on it. Now, all these servers, they are powered by power. Now, these servers, in the course of processing information, they usually get terribly hot. So they will need AC. And AC, the hotter an environment, the more effective the AC, or the efficient the AC will need to release more capacity. We will be working at optimal capacity. And when an AC is working at optimal capacity, it means it also consumes more power. Yeah. Yes. So invariably, both the systems and the AC, those are the two major things that the data center needs: the systems or infrastructures, like your network switches, firewalls, and all that. Then the AC, which can be the HVAC, the industrial control system for all air ventilation and all that. So, but these two systems, they are generally controlled by power. Without power, you can't run them. So it is the amount. It is not buying the system that is the issue. It is not buying the AC and the HVAC system that is the issue. It is the amount you spend on powering the systems and powering the HVAC system. Once you realize that you are spending so much on power, it's going to shut down the system, the business. Yeah. So most persons will not come to Nigeria because they would have to spend so much. It's more expensive running generator than it is when you're paying for electricity. So if you are, let's say we have a steady power supply in this country, and you go meet probably ADs and one of the power distribution companies and say, okay, I need you to allocate 1 megahertz, 2 megahertz to me or to my data center. I pay you based on the form. It does not matter whether I use or I don't use. Anytime you are giving me that allocation, as long as that allocation is for me, I pay you based on that form. That will not be like bulk electricity purchase. Now, with that, you can effectively use that amount of power based on the numbers of systems and the HVAC system that you have. Yeah. So eventually you find out that power is the main problem, the main reason why data center infrastructures are not. It's not that we don't have them in this part of the world, but what we have are more private data center. MTN has a private data center. Excel has a private data center. All these telecoms, they have their own private data centers. Some of them, they don't have a data center in Nigeria. They prefer to go to a country that has a stable power supply and design and develop and raise a data center there. Because as long as the data center is connected to the internet, it can be accessed from anywhere. Yeah, but what if we have a situation where we have a company that decides because we have power, steady power supply, the company is in this part of the world and it has set up its own data center with thousands and thousands of systems. Amazon decide Amazon what it does, that is what it does. That's its business. While most persons know Amazon to be the shopping website, but majority of its fund comes from AWS, that's Amazon Web Services, and that's the data center of Amazon. And it has different regions. And the only region it has in Africa is, I think, is in South Africa. Meanwhile, South Africa is far from us. South Africa is far from Egypt because Egypt is in the north and South Africa is in the south. Why don't you make it an enabling environment, make a Nigerian enabling environment for data center investors to come in and erect data center, whereby it can serve the whole of this country, it can serve the whole of West Africa, it can extend to North Africa, and also extend to South Africa because West Africa tends to be at the middle of South Africa and North Africa.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot to be done, really, in terms of policy direction to be driving this process. And because if we need electricity to power the data centers, and I do not know the figures now that the government is banning about the amounts of megawatts that are being generated. And of course, generation is not the same thing as transmission, and they can generate as much as 7,000 megawatts of electricity, but then they only can transmit just about 5,000 or thereabout, or even less than that.
The challenge we have in that part there is generating capacity, which we have never gotten up to. We've never ever generated up to the generating capacity. We have a generating capacity of about 12,000 megawatts. Yeah. But we've never generated up to 8,000 megawatts. I've never heard where they say we generate up to 8,000 megawatts. So the generating capacity is more than the amount of megawatts that we generate. Then the amount of megawatts we generate is higher than the amount of megawatts we transmit. Because the process is just too cumbersome, just too tedious. I don't know how to.
And the whole thing is just giving us the problem because you can imagine just like you have enumerated here, the job opportunities that will come to Nigeria if all these data centers will have to establish their centers here. So you can imagine how, of course, now that we're talking about diversification, just the data center alone, what it will add to us. So now you see that the whole thing is interconnected. Electricity is connected to every other thing we do, the ICT sector, the banking sector, and the rest of it. So if that sector is not addressed, or now that we actually, what exactly have we missed? I don't know whether it's possible to quantify it into the amount of dollars or naira that we're missing or that we have lost as a result of not being able to harness this potential that is already waiting for us, like they say, the low-hanging fruits.
Well, it's sad that unfortunately we can't quantify the amount of money that we lost because every day we keep losing money as a result of power. I'm talking about the amount of money, the amount we use in importing generators.
Yes.
I'm talking about the amount we use in buying diesel. Diesel can be channeled. Diesel purchase for generator can be channeled into other things, other areas. You can decide to say, okay, let's knock off fuel cars and use diesel cars, diesel engine. Yes, it can be channeled into other areas. Maybe I don't know why the government is adamant in addressing this issue, but companies are living every day. We are importing every day, and what we are importing is to generate power. And most of the generating power, set that we use the generating equipment are more of generators. And apart from the fact that generators has its own effect in pollution, the pollution side effects of generator, which is again the climate change policies that the government has promised to ensure that they eliminate probably by 2030, which I told us in this program that it's not possible if we are working at this pace and if we are not ready to be radical in the area of implementing some very strategic policies that are going to bring some very persons or top persons in the Nigerian cadre are down. Because truly, for you to address the issue of power, certain persons need to go down.
Oh, certain person needs to go down for us to
Well, that's the analysis we can do from this end based on the information that has been given to us or the information that is in the public domain. Yet certain persons may either key into the drastic decision and drastic policy, or be ready to just let go and be left behind.
Okay, as we try to wrap up the program now, the issue of you know inability to harness these potentials we talked about now. And for years now, we've been talking ICT for a number of years now, and this is an opportunity that we have on our hands. What then is the difficulty in trying to harness this, and of course invest, just like you mentioned, a chunk of our budget allocation for the year into building the sector that is already making waves. You notice that a lot of the impact that have been made in the sector is just private sector, driven. Yes. So just imagine what it would be if the government can say, okay, let us pay adequate attention in terms of investing big chunks of money into this sector, and of course, how fast, because ICT is another important sector that is moving as fast, if not even faster than the other sectors in terms of its contribution to the GDP of the economy. Why is it taking time for people? Is it as a result of any other constraints that we're not aware of?
So you can't give what you don't have. Before I wrote an article before this administration came in, that was probably 2014 thereabout, and in that article, one thing I said was that you can't truly give what you don't have. Yes. So if we are putting in, well, we have a chance, probably we have a chance next year again to elect this, and we should learn from whatsoever mistake we must have learned from in the past. But the truth of the matter is this: I have something. What I have is what I will keep. We have so many persons in different positions and all that, but we still have someone that they are all they pay homage to, and they are under authority. Because if we probably have someone that is ICT inclined, now understand the rudiment and all the necessary things that is involved in ensuring that this industry is driven. We have someone that is ICT compliant, and know what exactly ICT means. I know what the kind of job that can come. See, that I know is one thing. That the minister knows is one thing. That the minister is able to pass that knowledge to the head is another thing. The minister can be well aware of the potentials in the ICT, but may be difficult for him to be able to pass that level of knowledge to the head. Because, not that he's not doing it, but probably there is a gap in the area of knowledge, because it's just a broad thing that you can't just give it out like as if you're giving out an information. It needs extensive explanation, what and how certain things can be done, what needs to be done, the kind of persons that you have to go down. Because I believe in the fact that for you to stand, somebody needs to sit. For you to sit, someone needs to stand. The kind of the implication it will have, the positive impact. I always look at the two sides of the coin. I wrote a journal sometime, and I titled my journal "The Positive Impact of Cybercrime." And people, anytime I go to present they say, "I don't know what kind of topic is that. Why would you tell us the positive impact of cybercrime?" And I said, the truth of the matter is that why cybercrime is a challenge, and it's not as though I'm encouraging it, but it has a positive impact, and we can harness and maximize the positivity that comes with it, and minimize the disadvantage that comes with it. And one of the positivity that comes with cybercrime is the fact that because of cybercrime now, employers will begin to look at the way of ensuring that employers will begin to look at the way of ensuring that employees' welfare is well taken care of. Because there is a form of crime whereby if you don't take care of your employees well, They will just go and meet somebody that is outside, that is an hacker, and align with the person. And the person will hack you, and you will pay more than they will pay the person. So that will mean our employee. That means employee welfare will be taken care of. And as a result of this, it only means that it is an advantage to employees. Is that also? Because so it's just that. But there are a whole lot of things that needs to be done. As a country, there are a whole lot of policies that needs to be implemented. Good thing we have someone in the communication segment, that's the minister, who, in the best of his ability, is doing what he can to ensure that the internet penetration rate is on the increase, which is a good one, and bringing forth some very good policies like the 5G implementation policy that should kick off from this January. And so, at least so far so good, comparing him with other ministers of education, he is not just a minister, but also someone that knows what he's doing in that field.
All right, it's on that note that we draw the curtains on today's edition of Money Radio on Leadership Podcast. I've been in the studio with an ICT expert, Hamil Jafaru, doing justice to this important topic of restrategizing the ICT industry for local and global patronage. It is our hope that the government will do more investment in this sector in order to expand the reach of the potentials in this sector to add value to the Nigerian economy. And so we say thank you for joining us for today's edition of Money Radio on Leadership Podcast. We will come again with a bumper edition next time. Thank you and be blessed.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.